afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isadora Pardo, and I have the great pleasure today to be discussing with Natasha Deloge, who is working with the CSSF. I'm working for the Association of the Luxembourg Fund Industry, so for me it's always a great pleasure to discuss with the CSSF. Natasha, you are the head of the Innovation Hub at the CSSF, the Luxembourg regulator. Could you tell us about your role at the CSSF, please?
Yes, thank you, Isadora. So I'm the head of innovation of the CSSF, which is a quite atypical role because personally I do not have any supervisory powers, but my missions consist of being a contact point for fintechs as well as incumbents that have an innovative project to come in case where they need assistance. And I make sure that there are the right people around the table in order to help them with their projects. Also, I have a certain number of other missions, external as well as internal. I can give you some examples. Internal, my mission is notably in doing the coordination of files in the context of innovative projects that are transversal between several departments. Also to do like the knowledge building, because we get in contact with so many new players, with so many new business models, and it's important to bring that knowledge to the different departments. But we also have like a lot of external missions, and this one is notably to liaise with you guys from the professional associations to see what's going on in the sector, to do a monitoring, and this is very important, notably to inform our supervisory priorities.
This is very interesting, and in particular here in Singapore, in the context of this FinTech Festival. We're hearing a lot about AI, about tokenization, about all these innovations. And during the Singapore FinTech Festival, I'm sure that you had the opportunity to meet with many regulators, the regulator from Singapore, but also from other jurisdictions. Could you please explain why those meetings with other regulators are very useful in your work, and why it's critical for you to exchange with regulators and supervised entities from other jurisdictions?
Yes, of course. So the interaction with the regulators are very important for us because we are confronted with the same challenges in phase of digitalization of the financial sector. So these challenges do not only comprise new types of business models or new technologies, but these challenges also comprise how we as a regulator apply these new technologies to the financial sector. So it is very important to see how other regulators navigate those challenges and to exchange very concretely on those topics. Concerning our meetings with the entities, we see a lot of entities here in Singapore that are interested in Luxembourg as a jurisdiction. And we are notably here not only to hear about the innovative projects, the trends that are showing here in Asia that are coming to Luxembourg in the near future maybe, but also to give information on what are the licensing processes in Luxembourg. And one thing I would like to highlight in this context is that as well for the mass, for example, where we exchange with but also with the regulated entities. It is not only Europe that is looking to Asia for new trends and for ways to deal with this digitalization of the financial sector. On the contrary, the Asian market is very interested in the comprehensive regulatory frameworks we have established in certain domains in Europe. For example, crypto assets or even sustainable finance. So I think this exchange is important because it gives something to each of us.
That's very interesting. And I think that dialogue is the one word that comes to me when I think about the CSSF and the Luxembourg investment fund industry. In Luxembourg, we feel very fortunate to have this proximity with the regulator. And as a coordinator for the investment fund industry, I have very often the occasion to interact with you, with your colleagues at the CSSF, and discuss topics about product innovation, technology improvements, and many other topics. So these exchanges, they're very useful for my members, asset managers and other custodian banks and any actors in the investment fund ecosystems. But are they useful for you also for your work as a supervisor?
They are extremely useful for us, given that one of our missions is the monitoring of the innovation in the financial sector. It is for us innovation hub as well as different departments, supervisory departments of the CSSF, difficult to keep up what is going out there. So we have to wait to be contacted either by a new fintech or an authorized entity that shares their projects with us in order to be aware what's going on. And by exchanging with you guys and having a direct contact with your members, we learn a lot of the current trends and what is going on. And in exchange, we provide you with our assistance should there be any needs for clarification in regulation. Are there any gaps you discovered? And that is notably why in the last few months we have been extensively working together to provide the ALFI with guidance in the context of the DORA requirements. And so here again, this exchange is very profitable for both parties, I think.
They are, definitely. As we know how heavy regulation is, and in Europe in particular, we think that exchanging with the regulator on a frequent basis is really an asset. Natasha, you've been discussing with many entities, you've been having a lot of meetings now, and could you tell us what you see are the main innovations in our industry, in Europe, in Luxembourg, but also here in Singapore, in Asia? Could you give us an overview of what you think will be the roadmap for the coming months?
I mean, of course, there are some common topics that concern us as well as Singapore, like the development of tokenized forms of money, like stable coins, tokenized deposits, etc. But more particularly, the use of blockchain is also widely spread in the context of financial instruments and in the fund industry. And so this is something that is quite more personal to Luxembourg. This is the huge interest in tokenization of investment funds, be it native fund parts directly issued on the blockchain or non-native funds only mirroring an existing register. And in that context, I have to highlight that we have a particular favorable legal framework in Luxembourg, not only can we apply existing investment fund regulation for registered fund shares to hold the register on-chain by a transfer agent, but also we have our own national blockchain laws, and notably with the extension of the scope by blockchain law 4, we now have also investment funds that could be issued by a control agent, which is a new status that can issue fund shares under dematerialized form. And we see an increasing interest for these types of issuances.
Yes, that's a very important point, and we see that the market from our side is very much interested in benefiting from what the blockchain law 4 in Luxembourg allows in terms of operating model. Did you see some interest from other NCAs to learn more about this regulatory framework, or do you want to discuss about some interactions you have with other NCAs with regard to sharing practices or good practices?
In this context is indeed very important to share. You cannot do innovation by yourself, given that everything you introduce would create a fragmentation in the European market. So it has to go, we have to go hand in hand with the others. And the European supervisor authorities do a tremendous job in order to bring the different NCAs together in order to talk about these topics. So their mission is to ensure a supervisory convergence throughout Europe on digital finance topics, new regulations, and this is also in order to avoid that entities turn towards jurisdiction that apply legal frameworks in a more lenient way, that they would then be tempted to do forum shopping.
Yes, indeed. Communication between NCAs, harmonization to avoid any regulatory arbitrage. But we see this is in the interest of the industry as well. One last question for you, Natasha. I would like to ask you about innovation and globalization. Do you think that it's more innovation that fosters the globalization of the investment fund industry, or is it the other way around? Is it globalization that pushes forward innovation?
So I think we already had globalization for a very long time. We have a quite a well-developed fund industry that is largely cross-border, and I would say by helping to simplify work processes, value chains, new technologies can only contribute to allow for smoother consumer experiences and facilitate notably distribution. So I would say that innovation can be an addition to globalization, but I think the investment fund industry is already well globalized.
That's very true. Do you think there are a couple of things that remain that slow down this trend towards innovation and globalization together?
None that I can think of right now.
Great. So thank you so much, Natasha. It's always a great pleasure to talk to you, and always a great pleasure to get these insights from the CSSF. I hope this was of value for you, and I wish you a very pleasant day. Thank you.
Thank you, Isadora.